So, I recently have been getting messages from the Wisdom Keepers, the spirit team that I channel, about time, about parallel timelines, and about the shift that is taking place on Earth right now, where we are moving into the 5D or what we would call New Earth. And in this episode, I'm going to attempt to try to give you the information that they have been giving me and the visions or timelines that they're trying to portray to me in the best capacity they can in my human understanding. So, if you're interested in that, stay tuned because that is what we will be focusing on today. Welcome to the Soul Alignment Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Angie, and I'm inviting you to explore the depths of self-sabotage, limiting mindsets, and the beliefs that hinder our progress in life. Through intuitive messages I receive from my spirit team, I share profound insights to help you live authentically and break free from these limitations. Join me now as we uncover all the keys to living your best life. Welcome back. My name is Angie, and I am your Soul Alignment Mentor, bringing you intuitive messages from my spirit team to help you align with your most authentic and highest self. Before I jump into this parallel life thing, I want to let you know that my third book, my newest book, Parables for a New Earth, has been released. You can find it on Amazon. I will drop the link below. You want this book. Trust me. This is channeled messages that I received over the last year that have insight and information about how to work on ascending into the 5D and also what is heck's going on in your life and others' lives. It talks about New Earth ascension. It talks about ascension symptoms. It talks about soulmates. It talks about how to navigate through the experiences that you're going through. It talks about past lives. It talks about future lives and parallel lives. All that is in this book. So grab this book, Parables for a New Earth, and I might be making a study guide for this as well because it's so full of information. Is a high vibrational book. And so when you do pick it up, it might be a little difficult to understand, but the Wisdom Keepers have a way of pulling information down into our understanding here on Earth so that we can grasp what they're trying to teach us and say to us. So grab my book and study that, and it will be like a life manual for you as you ascend into 5D. So let's dive into parallel lives. This is coming up for me more and more recently. And I think that the reason it's coming up for me is because I have experienced a couple of things that have happened to me, but also my clients are having things happen to them. And I'm noticing a lot of things happening around me that haven't been there before. One of my very first experiences of kind of tapping into a timeline shift or a parallel experience, or, when you're just kind of going along your life and you have done something over and over and over, and what that area looks like, all the parts of it, and then suddenly it's different. I had an experience, this was probably about 4 years ago, where I was hiking, and I've hiked these woods for 10 years and I know every path by heart. I do it on my own. I feel completely comfortable there. And I remember distinctly there was one day I was walking one of the normal paths that I always walk, and I turned a corner and all of a sudden I see a wooden bridge. And for a second I was like, this has never been here before. And it wasn't like a new bridge that had just been bought. It was old. The wood was kind of, molding. It had some grass growing on it. And I was like, well, how did I miss this before? And I remember turning around, looking at the trail behind me, thinking, am I on the same trail? Like thinking maybe I got off trail for some reason or somehow. And I was on the right trail. And so I remember thinking, did I just move timelines into a different reality that had this bridge in it? And so that is the very first time I ever remember having this weird experience of like, that was not here before. And I have had people in my life say this to me before about like, that I don't remember it that way. And so I want to go over some things that you might be experiencing as you are shifting timelines or moving into parallel lives that can kind of bring a little bit more understanding or help you not feel so crazy as we're ascending into this new earth. So, the way Spirit has showed me this is they kind of showed me over, like, for a very long time, for thousands of years on our earth, we have all been living in one reality. Like, we have been understanding our reality together. What you experience, I experience. We may have different perceptions. We may have not seen it the same because nobody's the same person. Everybody has different vision, different eyes, different experiences. But if I see something happen and you're standing right beside me, we see the same thing happen in some capacity. We can both talk about the details or what we saw based on our perception at that time, but it's still the same event. What Spirit has been showing me is that over time, particularly the last 20 to 30 years, time has been shifting apart like this. And this is creating what we are experiencing on Earth now as two different experiences where you're seeing people that are thinking and believing one way and people that are thinking and believing another way. And as this shift is opening and moving further apart, it is causing division. It is causing confusion. It's causing people to not be able to understand each other. The experiences that you are seeing is like, well, I didn't see that. I don't understand what you are referring to because this is what I saw. So you could have the same experience happening, but your perception can be night and day on that experience. And this is what Spirit is telling me, that this is going to be speeding up in the near future, or it is at this point. And so what Spirit has showed me is that over the next year and a half, they distinctly said by year 2027, there is going to be a massive shift that happens in the human consciousness, and a more distinct split is going to take place. And it explained to me that this split is going to be at a faster rate. Because those of us that are ascending into a 5D or a higher frequency, we're shifting out of a time that we have known in the 3D. And because of higher frequency and dimensions, time does not exist in the spirit. So it doesn't mean that time won't exist in the 5D. It's going to be different. That's why it may feel like time has sped up over the last 20, 30 years. I know for myself, like there would be days that were like, it felt like a full day. Now a day may feel like, oh, it's already over kind of thing. And so the months, the days, the time moves much quicker because time is speeding up because it's not so dense in this reality that we're in. Now, believe it or not, if you're watching this, you probably are ascending in some type of way. And so you're relating a little bit to what I'm saying. But there are people that might watch this or might just happen to see this and be curious that are going to be like, what is she talking about? There are people that won't even know the language, spiritual awakening, parallel lives, ascension, new earth. Like they're going to be like, these people are absolutely crazy. What are they talking about? And it's because for so very long, we have all been watching the same channel. And many of us have shifted our awareness into a completely different channel, and we're watching that channel, and it may be a similar theme, but it's a completely different life. And so those who are in the 3D or in the old earth is what we would call it in some capacity, they're going to continue to experience things based on that perception. And that makes it a little bit harder for those who are ascending to relate with them. So you may have a hard time having conversations with people that are not ascending. You might have a hard time understanding the perception. You may have a belief of right and wrong, and the other person maybe doesn't see that at all. Like you could argue with them all day, like, that's not okay to do it to another person. And they're like, what do you mean? That's perfectly okay. And so this is what is happening in the reality of relationships, but this is also happening on a daily life capacity. So a couple things, like I was telling you the example of like seeing this bridge just pop up in my reality. I'm like, that wasn't there before. And I will never forget that experience, because I know before that day, I had never seen that bridge. I have seen it ever since then. And I always think, how did I not see this before? How was this not here before? And I've had experiences where I've had more deja vu, where I'm sitting and talking to somebody, or I'm on a trip, or I'm doing something. And I just have this really strange experience where I'm like, I've been here before. I've done this before, even though I know I haven't. And it's not something that I remember doing. But I think what is happening is because our life is speeding up in time, we are actually getting access to our own parallel lives, and in a parallel life for our own self, a different energy of what our soul is projecting into the world, because everything's happening at once. We might be touching base with a part of us in another parallel life and not even realizing that our memory is coming from a different lifetime, a past life, a future life, a parallel life, whatever it might be. And so there could be things that you start to feel in your body that you haven't felt before. And you're like, well, where did this come? Why am I feeling this? Why all of a sudden is this happening? And it could be because you in a parallel life are doing healing work, or you're shifting in your consciousness, or something is happening in this other parallel life. And your life in this timeline is being impacted by that, because what you do in this life and your timeline you're experiencing currently is also impacting all of your other lives, because you are one being. Your soul, your oversoul, which is your higher self, is projecting itself into all types of different realities. And all these realities are working together to ascend into a higher frequency. And they're all experiencing each other. We just haven't had awareness of that until we have shifted into new reality in a higher perspective, more in tune with our true higher self. So I wrote down some examples here. I'm going to pull my list up here, and I'm going to go through these and just kind of keep track of, have I experienced this? So I've already mentioned the deja vu, like feeling like this happened before. I've been here before. I've done this before. So if you've had deja vu, it's likely that you've experienced a timeline shift or a parallel life. Remembering things that never happened in this life. Again, you could be tapping into a parallel life or a past life and thinking, I don't remember that happening. But I feel like it did. Suddenly you might have this urge to start doing something that you've never done before. Like have a gift or a talent that appears, and maybe you've never been into like playing guitar, and all of a sudden you have this urge to play guitar, and you're like, what is happening? Well, maybe you in another life have learned guitar, and now you're benefiting from it. So you may feel like you've borrowed talents from other people or other lifetimes that are kind of merging together. Small details about things change, like the name of things, how something happened, an event, the places that you go to might look completely different. You might remember things being different, just like I'm talking about this bridge. Like you might go somewhere and be like, I don't remember this, but we have these things where we're like, well, maybe they've changed it. Maybe they built something different, whatever. But this is something that might be something you do daily already. So, with between yesterday and today, there's no way they could have done that. There's something new about this. So some of the other symptoms you might have that you are kind of merging into parallel lives or you're experiencing them is when you sleep, you are actually leaving your body. Your soul leaves your body to reconnect with your oversoul. And you could be bringing back memories from your oversoul of what your parallel lives are experiencing, or the connection you might be having with parts of yourself in other dimensions and realities. Something that has been coming up for me more and more is I am remembering who I am in another dimension, that I have another life, another part of my soul projected into the Octarian, into a council with the Octarians, and that I have a part of me, she calls herself Annabelle, that is an Octarian, that is also a part of my soul, and she works with me and I work with her. And so she's actually helping me here on earth. And so my true identity outside of being a human is also an Octarian. So I'm considered an extraterrestrial. Now, if you haven't heard my story about coming to Earth and how that all came about, then there's several podcasts that I've been on to explain that, but maybe I will share that in another episode. But I have distinct memories of coming to Earth on a spaceship, and my mom and dad both saw the spaceship when I arrived. Another thing is that you might start meeting people that seem very familiar to you. You're like, I know you, but I don't know how I know you. And I'm hearing Spirit say right now, which is so interesting to me, that you might actually start having experiences with people from other realities and dimensions where you're crossing paths. Like, so that what they're showing me right now is you might be walking down the road and someone might be approaching you, and you just think they're a part of your reality. And then maybe when you turn around, they're not there. And it could be because you are seeing into a different parallel life that somebody else is experiencing. Objects appearing or disappearing. We've talked about that. Streets, maps, houses, just feeling different, looking different. Like you just can't. You might not be able to put your finger on it, but you're just like, there's something different here. I don't know what that is. Feeling homesick for a place that you don't even know. Like for me, I know I've always lived in the same place my whole life. And there's part of me that longs to be somewhere else because I know I belong somewhere else. And this could be another dimension. This could be a location on Earth. This could be a star. It could be the moon, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be anything like logical that we would say as a human. Grieving relationships that you've never had. You may start thinking about, how you miss somebody, or something has happened between you and someone and it could have happened in a parallel life. Vivid dreams of another life. So I have vivid visions and dreams about another parallel life that I didn't realize I was tapping into until recently, where I am not in a relationship in this lifetime that I'm experiencing currently, but in another lifetime where I'm also me, I am experiencing a relationship with someone. And so sometimes I feel like that connection in this reality, because I know this person in this lifetime as well, I feel like it kind of brings up this energetic memory between us. And it's like this deep knowing of, I know you in a different way, but we're not this way in this lifetime. So it's interesting to feel that, and then to have that awareness of, I am not in a relationship with you in this lifetime, but I am in a different lifetime. And so it's very interesting. You might start to have more synchronizations, more nudges to do things. You might be seeing more things popping up in your reality that you notice, like the numbers or the themes or the feathers or the signs, whatever that might be, is that these are kind of like things that your higher self are giving you to confirm for you that you're on the right path or on the right timeline. um Again, like going back to this parallel life and you living in another dimension or another life, you might actually feel like there's part of you in another dimension or another lifetime that's guiding you, that's kind of coming into your awareness. Or maybe when Annabelle started showing up in my reality, I really didn't know it was me in another dimension. I just thought she was one of my spirit guides. But as I've gotten to know her, I'm like, oh, you were me and I am you. Now, this gets a little tricky because we're all one energy in reality, but we are broken off into different, what we would call cells, like different energies that are experiencing each other in a different way, a different frequency, that is allowing us to have more of a distinguished individual experience. So my higher self Annabelle, or my Octarian self Annabelle, is guiding my human self, and I'm receiving messages from her. So you might have a guide that you find out, oh, this is me in a different dimension, or this is me in a parallel life. Another thing that has recently come up that I found really interesting is you could be going along and thinking everything is wonderful and fine, and then somebody beside you or around you is experiencing something like some kind of a turmoil. They're seeing something that is negative, and you're having a really hard time being like, I don't see anything. I'm not experiencing anything. I'm so confused. Like, what is causing you to upset? That is because if you are ascending, you are not interacting as much with the 3D energy, and therefore you are not having the same experience as them. And so this is going to, as long as we're still working with, or interchanging energy with, or conversations, or as long as we're still working with the 3D in some capacity, we're going to have a lot of patience with people that are not experiencing the same reality as us. And yes, we are going to sound crazy, but we also think they sound crazy. So we just have to remember that loving ourselves, loving one another is the main goal in this whole experience that we're on. And that the whole reason even to be a human being, to be an earthling, is to grow in our capacity of love. And so instead of focusing so much on, do I need to pay attention to all these little details and parallel life things, focus on love, and these things will fall into place. None of this is meant to scare you. None of this is meant to stress you out. None of this is meant to cause you fear or conflict within yourself or the world around you. The whole purpose of ascension is to release those things. And that is why it's so important to do the healing work as well, to release trauma, to reprogram your mind, to teach yourself who you are in your highest frequency. And that work is what is going to allow this shift to be easier for you and flow with ease. So if you are looking for support and healing, I do have a few openings for one-on-one, but I also have my Ascension membership and my Healer Circle, which are very beautiful communities. The Ascension membership is basically a spiritual awakening support group, and we get together a few times a month and we support each other. I channel for the group, and it's always a uplifting, encouraging time. And you can come with things that are going on in your life, and you can talk to the whole group and be like, what is happening to me? And people that have had that experience before can share how they got through it. The Healer Circle is for those of us that feel called to be healers on the earth and to help this ascension take place. And we get together and remind each other of who we are and how to be the healers of the earth as we are working out our own healing. So if those are things that you are looking for, please reach out to me. You can set up a consultation call, the link's below, or just get on my website and look around and see what you feel drawn to. I also do hypnotherapy and intuitive healing and spirit messages and all kinds of stuff. So again, don't forget to go get my book, Parables for a New Earth. And yeah, I hope you have the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the universal love. Namaste.